What happens when a quiet return turns into a storm no one saw coming? Just weeks after his long-awaited discharge, Kang made a single move, one that sent shockwaves through fans and changed Yoo Jung's life in ways no one could have predicted. Was it fate? Or something carefully planned? Let's uncover the truth behind this unexpected twist, right here, right now. With red carpet revealed. For 17 months, her world had been quieter. Streets still gleamed the same way after rain. The same coffee shops brewed the same bittersweet aroma. And the city lights still flickered each night like 1,000 tiny confessions, but something had changed. It wasn't the absence of sound, exactly. It was the absence of a voice, his voice, that once filled her life with laughter, warmth, and a kind of chaos she'd secretly learned to miss. Yoona never said it aloud, not to anyone. Not even to herself when the cameras were gone and the stage lights dimmed. But every time she walked into rehearsal, or read a new script, she could feel his shadow at the edge of every line, the ghost of Junha. When he left for his mandatory service, the world called it a pause. Fans flooded timelines with messages of support. The kind that sound bright but taste a little like longing. The headline said, "Actor Junha enters training, promises to return stronger." He had smiled, saluted, disappeared behind the gates, and Yoona, his last co-star, simply posted a single line, "Come back safely." All. But everyone knew it meant more. Now, 17 months later, he was back. The news broke on a pale spring morning. Light barely spilling through clouds that looked heavy with memory. The internet woke in waves, hashtags, fan posts, video montages. "He's home," people wrote. As if home were a place the world shared with him. I saw the headlines while sitting in her dressing room. Makeup for a new film shoot. Her stylist noticed the slight pause. The way her hand froze above the compact mirror. "You okay?" the stylist asked. "Yeah," she said, her tone too steady to be true. "Just didn't realize it's already been that long." The stylist smiled knowingly. "Feels shorter when you miss someone, huh?" Yoona didn't reply. She closed her eyes and let the makeup brush sweep warmth over her cheekbones, a ritual of hiding. The day went on as if nothing had changed. But the air felt different. By evening, the entertainment world was watching his every move. Photos of Junha in his discharge uniform flooded every news outlet, his hair slightly longer, his expression gentler, posture straight but eyes distant, as though his thoughts were still marching somewhere far away. The comment sections filled with excitement and nostalgia. Yet among the flood of fanfare, one comment kept resurfacing beneath every article. "Do you think he still keeps in touch with Yoona?" Neither of them had been seen together since their last press event 2 years earlier. Their chemistry in the hit series Under the Same Sky had been so natural that people refused to believe it was only acting. Even now, clips of their quiet smiles and playful banter were recycled across fan edits with captions like "the way he looks at her." But after he left, she went silent. No statements. No mentions. Just work. And work. And work. And now, with his return, that silence felt like a storm waiting to break. 3 days after his discharge, appeared at a small press event, casual, polite. The same soft-spoken charm that had always drawn people in. A reporter asked what he missed most. He smiled slightly. "Routine," he said. "And the people I couldn't see for a while." It was vague enough to mean nothing. And yet, for anyone who remembered Under the Same Sky, it meant everything. Yoona read the transcript later that night. She didn't know why she did. She told herself it was just habit, checking industry updates. But something in her chest felt tight, restless. She put the phone down and stared at the city outside her window. Its lights stretching endlessly into the dark like a million unsent messages. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was supposed to be an ordinary weekend rehearsal for her upcoming film. The set was an old theater, half-renovated, filled with the scent of wood dust and faint echoes. She arrived early, rehearsing her lines under the dim glow of the stage lights. The crew moved quietly around her, the rhythm familiar, almost comforting. Then the door opened, and the air changed. She looked up instinctively. There he was. Junha stood in the doorway, not in uniform. Not on disguise, just himself. Simple white shirt, black cap. Kind of ease that once defined him. For a second, neither of them moved. "Sorry," he said finally, his voice lower. rougher than she remembered. Did it mean to interrupt? Her heart stumbled, but her voice didn't betray her. You didn't. He smiled faintly, that same tilted smile that had haunted countless reruns. You're still early to everything. Still bad at surprises, she replied. The crew fell silent, pretending not to watch, but everyone did. It wasn't a reunion planned for headlines. It was the kind of quiet collision that happens only when the universe forgets its own script. When rehearsal ended, he waited by the exit. Can we talk? He asked. She hesitated. About what? He looked at her for a long time before answering. About what's next. They walked outside, into the fading light. The air smelled of rain about to fall. For a while, neither spoke. I thought you'd call, she said softly. I wanted to, he admitted. But I didn't know if I should. I didn't know if you wanted to hear from me. She looked away. People always say that after they disappear. He nodded, accepting the sting. You're right. The silence that followed wasn't comfortable. But it wasn't empty either. It was full of all the words they left unsaid, and the years they both spent pretending not to wait. Finally, he exhaled. I'm starting something new, he said. And I wanted you to hear it from me first. Her pulse quickened. A project. More than that, he smiled. A little nervously now. Writing a film. My first one. She blinked. You? Writing. Crazy, right, he said, laughing under his breath. It's about two people who lose each other because of time, and find each other again when time gives them back the chance. Her heart knew before her mind did. Sounds familiar. He met her gaze. It's not fiction, Yuna. Not really. The confession hung in the air, simple, bare, terrifying. Before she could speak, a raindrop fell between them, shattering the stillness. And then another. Within seconds, the sky opened. And they were running through the drizzle, laughing in disbelief. And breathless under a neon awning. Still hate the rain? He asked, hair dripping. Still love it, she replied, almost whispering. And for a brief moment, 17 months dissolved, replaced by that easy familiarity that had once made millions believe in their chemistry. But this time, no cameras, no scripts. Just two people caught in a storm that felt like a beginning. Next day, rumors spread, Junha visits Yuna's set. Both agencies denied it, as always. Just colleagues catching up, they said. The world rolled its eyes, delighted by the dance of denial. But what they didn't know was that after that night, sent her something, a single envelope delivered to her apartment. Handwritten and unmarked. Inside, a copy of his script. The title scrawled across the top, After the Quiet. The dedication read, to the one who waited without saying she was waiting. She read it 3 times before she could breathe. The next week, she found herself thinking about his story, its lines echoing her own heart. She told herself she was just being professional when she called him. About your script, she said. He laughed softly on the other end. You read it? Of course I did. Oh. She hesitated. It's beautiful. Would you be in it? The question landed gently, like a dare wrapped in hope. She didn't answer right away. We can handle working together again. He paused. I think we never really stopped. The line stayed with her long after the call ended. By the following week, the announcement hit, Junha to write and direct his first film. As the lead. The internet exploded again, disbelief, excitement, endless theories. Everyone wanted to know what the story was. Nobody guessed that the story was them. Filming began quietly, far from the city. In a small coastal town where sea wind carried salt and second chances. Yuna arrived first, scripts in hand, eyes scanning the waves as though searching for courage. When he appeared behind her, book tucked under his arm, he said, "This is where they meet again." She turned, smiling faintly. "You mean us or them? Does it matter?" That line became the heartbeat of the film, and maybe of them. They worked like they had before, intuitively, in sync, finishing each other's sentences without meaning to. Something was different now, softer, quieter. The pauses between words felt fuller, charged with the gravity of people who had seen the world change and still chosen to stay. Sometimes, between takes, watch her stare out toward the ocean, lost in thought. "What are you thinking?" he'd ask. She'd smile. "That I used to be afraid of stillness. Now I think that's where life hides." He'd nod, understanding without reply. Their connection became the quiet rumor of the film set, the kind that everyone noticed but no one dared name. The crew whispered about their long walks after shooting. Laughter drifting down empty streets long after cameras stopped rolling. One evening, after the final scene of the day, he approached her with a small box. "I never got to give you this before I left," he said. Inside was a delicate silver pendant, a crescent moon resting over calm water. She touched it carefully. "Why this?" "Because no matter how long the night lasts," he said softly, "the reflection always comes back." It glistened. She didn't thank him. Some gifts weren't meant for words. Later that night, under a violet sky, he watched her wear the pendant as she rehearsed the final scene, a woman walking alone on the beach. Turning when she hears a familiar voice call her name. He called out quietly, "Cut." Didn't stop walking. When she turned, she was crying, real tears, not scripted ones. "Are you okay?" he asked, moving toward her. She laughed through the tears. "You wrote this ending too well." Smiled. "Maybe it's not the ending." That was the night the rumors began again, whispers of something real blooming behind the lens. The tabloids would invent versions. But no one knew the truth. The only thing real was the moment she looked at him and said, "You came back different." He nodded. "So did you." And in that quiet acknowledgement, something shifted, something irreversible. Something the rest of the world would soon feel without understanding. Because weeks later, one move, one simple, deliberate act, would change everything. That, the world didn't know yet. The sea wind had begun to turn colder by the time the final scenes of After the Quiet were filmed. The crew had packed up their cameras and lights. The sound of laughter slowly replaced by the rhythmic crashing of waves. The little coastal town that had briefly held their story was returning to its ordinary pace, but for Yoona and Junha, nothing felt ordinary anymore. On their last evening there, the sky was painted in hues of gold and smoke. A single pier stretched into the horizon like a bridge between memory and time. She stood there alone for a while. The tide swallowed the last colors of sunset. Her swayed gently in the wind, and she pressed the silver pendant against her chest, the one he'd given her. Behind her, she heard footsteps. "You always come here when something's ending," he said. She didn't turn around. "Maybe I'm bad at goodbyes." He joined her at the edge of the pier, standing beside her. "Then don't say it." "I have to," she said quietly. "We both do. Once this film is out, we'll talk again. You know how it goes." Dissected, speculated on, turned into stories that don't belong to us. He nodded. "They'll always talk. But this time, I don't think I'll let them write our story for us." Frowned, curious. "What do you mean?" Looked out at the sea, the kind of gaze that hides a decision. "You'll see." The wind picked up, carrying the faint scent of salt and rain. The horizon blurred, and the world seemed to pause between one heartbeat and the next. Night, they said nothing more. When she left for Seoul the next morning, he walked her to the train station. There were people around, locals, crew, fans who had heard rumors of filming, so their words were simple. "Take care," she said. But as the train began to move, he leaned in close enough for only her to hear. "Thank you for not giving up on what we were." Startled. "What were we, Junha?" He smiled faintly. "A story that deserved a second chance." Then the train carried her away, leaving his reflection in the window, a moment suspended between farewell and promise. 2 weeks later, after the quiet wrapped post-production, the teaser was scheduled to drop at midnight. Neither of them had seen the final cut yet. But that wasn't the story the media was waiting for. Because that morning, Junha had done something that nobody expected. Posted a letter. Not to Yoona directly, but to the world. On his official account. In black and white text, he wrote, "I've always believed in telling stories that mean something. This next one means more than I can say. For a long time, I thought silence was protection, for myself, for others. But I've learned that silence can also erase truth. Here it is. After the Quiet isn't just a film. Reflection of what time taught me, that some connections are real. No matter what name the world gives them. Proud of what we created. I'm proud of her." Signed it simply, Junha. No names, no confessions. But the world didn't need explicitness. The internet exploded. The post was shared over 2 million times in a day. Headlines screamed. Did Junha just confirm his relationship with Yoona? Actor's emotional letter sparks frenzy. "I'm proud of her," the line that broke the internet. Reporters camped outside her agency, waiting for a statement. The timing, weeks after his discharge, days before their film's release, was too perfect to be accidental. When Yoona saw the post, didn't move for several minutes. The words on her screen blurred as emotion welled up, not shock, but something deeper. Fear, maybe. Gratitude. Recognition. Always known he was brave on screen. But this was different. This was real. Rang, her manager, frantic. "We need to release a statement now. Should we deny? Confirm? Do nothing," she said quietly. "Let it breathe." Manager hesitated. "Are you sure? This could change everything." Yoona's eyes softened. It already did. That evening, the teaser for After the Quiet dropped online. It opened with a single shot, a woman standing by the ocean, wind in her hair, looking toward the horizon as a man's voice whispered, "Came back because I finally understood what I left behind." The screen faded to black. The title appeared, After the Quiet. And then, her voice, breaking softly through silence, "I waited because I believed you'd remember." It was only 40 seconds long. Spread like wildfire. People called it haunting, intimate, painfully beautiful. But to those who knew, every frame felt like a secret love letter hidden in plain sight. In the following days, the two of them were the most searched names online. Fan forums turned into detective boards, decoding phrases, comparing behind-the-scenes footage, quoting his letter like scripture. Yet amid the frenzy, none of them said another word. Instead, they let the story, their story, speak through the film. The premiere was held in a small theater downtown. Intentionally private. Only a few press outlets were invited. She arrived first, dressed in soft ivory, grace tempered by calm. Moments later, in black, as though light and shadow had agreed to meet halfway. Inside, they sat 2 seats apart. Cameras flashed, interviews buzzed. Agents swirled like bees, but between them, silence reigned. The kind that isn't distance, but understanding. When the film began, the audience fell silent. Scene after scene unfolded like memory, missed calls, unsent letters. A reunion under the rain. Ending arrived, her walking toward the sea. Calling her name, the theater was still except for the sound of quiet breathing and tears being wiped away in the dark. When the credits rolled, the applause started slow, then grew into thunder. Yoona turned her head slightly, meeting his eyes across the dim glow. He smiled, small, steady, as if to say, "We did it." Outside, the night was alive with flashbulbs and questions. But something in the air had shifted. Reporters still asked, "Are they together?" Fans still speculated endlessly. But beneath all the noise, there was reverence. Because for once, the story wasn't about gossip, it was about artistry, about truth. About how 2 people could channel something so human into light. In an interview weeks later, Yoona was asked about the letter. The reporter phrased it gently, "When Junha wrote that he was proud of you, what did you feel?" Smiled, eyes lowering. "Grateful. Because pride is a rare kind of love, one that doesn't ask for anything back." The clip went viral, of course. The real story was quieter than that. Because what the world didn't know was that his one move, that letter, wasn't just a confession. It was an act of protection. Behind closed doors, industry pressure had been mounting for months. There were executives who told him to stay silent, to keep distance, to prioritize image over honesty. But he refused. "If my silence hurts someone I respect, it's not worth keeping," he had told his team. That was the real move, choosing truth over comfort, authenticity over control. And for Yoona, it changed everything. Before, she had lived carefully, every word measured, every emotion filtered through what the world expected of her. But after that letter, something in her shifted. She stopped fearing visibility. She began speaking more freely in interviews, defending artistry, vulnerability. The idea that real connection is not scandal, it's courage. Her new projects reflected the change, deeper roles, bolder choices. Fans said she glowed differently, carrying a light that couldn't be dimmed anymore. Meanwhile, Junha disappeared for a while. No public events, no statements. People asked where he was. She'd just smile softly. Writing again, she'd say. It wasn't until 6 months later that the next surprise came. A streaming service quietly released a short film titled Letters to the Sea. The credits read, written and directed by Jun. Narration by Yuna. The film was minimalist, no faces, only waves. Pages of letters floating across the tide. Two voices reading words never sent. You don't owe the world an explanation, her voice said. But sometimes, his replied. Owe it to yourself to stop hiding. It ended with her voice whispering. I'm proud of you too. That single line broke millions of hearts and healed just as many. When they finally appeared together again, at an awards ceremony honoring After the Quiet, the entire auditorium rose to its feet before they even spoke. The film had become more than a success, it had become a symbol of resilience. Of authenticity in an industry that often forgets both. Onto the stage side by side. Hands brushing once, unintentionally or maybe not. As applause thundered. Yuna took the microphone. This film, she said. Voice trembling slightly. Built on silence, the kind that hides truth and the kind that heals it. And I want to thank the person who reminded me that even silence can be brave. She glanced at him. The audience caught the look. It wasn't performative. It was two souls recognizing each other in front of the world. And it was his turn to speak. Jun simply said. Sometimes one move can change everything, not because it's grand. But because it's honest. The crowd roared. Afterward, as cameras clicked and journalists shouted questions. They stood near the exit. Just beyond the spotlight. He leaned close, smiling faintly. You still think I'm bad at surprises? Laughed, quiet but real. This one wasn't bad. Then, softly, almost to himself, he added. I didn't write that letter to change your life, you know. Oh, she said. But it did. Months passed. The frenzy faded. As all frenzies do. New stars rose. New scandals replaced old ones. But their story, or whatever the world thought it was, remained etched somewhere deeper. Like a melody that hums under noise. Every now and then, fans would catch glimpses, her voice in a trailer he directed. His cameo in a film she produced. Pended glinting faintly in different interviews. Confirmed, nothing denied. But those who understood knew that their connection had long outgrown the need for definitions. It had become something quieter. A living proof that truth doesn't always need noise to survive. On the anniversary of After the Quiet's release. Posted a single photo, the sea at dusk. And endless. Beneath it. One line of caption, some stories never really end. An hour later, from a different account. Jun posted the same photo, same sea. Slightly different angle, with the words, they just find new ways to continue. The internet caught fire again, of course. Then, it didn't matter. Because somewhere, far from cameras and questions, maybe they were walking by that same sea again, quiet, side by side. Content in knowing that one courageous act had rewritten everything. His letter had not only changed her life, it had set them both free. And his waves erased footprints on the sand. Their reflections lingered, proof that sometimes, the simplest gesture can echo forever.